$750 is what Kamala Harris is offering the Hurricane Helene victims in Georgia and North Carolina and Tennessee. If you've been devastated by Hurricane Helene, if you've lost everything, if mudslides and water and rainfall has destroyed your homestead, your financial future, your business, if everything has been washed away, if you're living in some kind of shelter right now, if you don't have anything at all, food, prescription drugs, anything at all, Kamala Harris wants you to know, don't worry. She's ready, willing, and able to give you $750.
And the federal relief and assistance that we have been providing has included FEMA providing $750 for folks who need immediate needs being met, such as food, baby formula, and the like. And you can apply now for anyone who's watching this who has been affected.
By the way, there's so much wrong with this because, first of all, there's no electricity in these areas. There's no internet service in these areas. Nobody that needs the $750 is watching. Nobody that needs the $750 is currently on their phone streaming Kamala Harris's really insulting announcement live. But $750, she wants you to know that's what she's got, and she's ready. The federal government, which has sent hundreds of billions of dollars to Ukraine to help support Ukrainians, to help support their war effort, to help rebuild, to help food and clothe them. The federal government, which spends hundreds of billions of dollars, FEMA, the Federal Emergency Management Agency, they have spent hundreds of billions of dollars on illegal immigrants. The amount of money it costs to fly illegal immigrants from Haiti to Springfield, Ohio, pretend they're not illegal, and set them up in schools. The amount of money they've pumped into New York City, taking over hotels and giving these people 3 squares a day. All of this stuff that the federal government is doing for non-American citizens is expensive. And it is something that is, I'm going to be honest with you, I would say unnecessary. But when it comes to Americans, who've lost everything in the United States of America, in North Carolina, in Georgia, in Florida, in all these places, Kamala Harris is going to give up $750 apiece.
And the federal relief and assistance that we have been providing has included FEMA providing $750 for folks who need immediate needs being met, such as food, baby formula, and the like. And you can apply now for anyone who's watching this who has been affected.
I don't know if you've seen the video of the stores, but there's no food. There's no baby formula. There's nothing in any of the place. There's videos of Walmarts there where the store shelves are empty. There's lines around the corner. What they need is not $750. They need food drops. But if you are going to give them money, why not $1,000? Why $750? Why not $2,000? Why not what you give each average Ukrainian, and that is over $6,000? $750 if you have a family of 5 or 6. That's nothing, especially if you don't have any clothing. I mean, we're not just talking about the basic necessities. You're not just talking about food and baby formula, underwear, socks. I mean, think about it, personal supplies, cleaning supplies, everything you need. She's offering up $750 to the Americans that have been devastated by this. This is why people don't like Kamala Harris. I mean, there's many other reasons. This is why the federal government is such a joke to so many Americans. And this is why we need, to quote Kamala Harris, change. To quote Gwen Walz, we need to turn the page on the Joe Biden, Kamala Harris administration. And it's going to happen. Look, in North Carolina, they are furious with these people. They're so upset, especially since Joe Biden flew over the area yesterday.
When we heard that Biden was just going to be, flying around, it kind of just made us feel like, as our president, where is that guidance where you're supposed to be kind of here helping us with this, and just almost it's almost a sense of abandonment, and like I said, it's mainly just the community coming together and helping each other out with all of this. Yeah,
Joe Biden actually said to Americans from the White House the other, I don't have the clip, but he said he was doing a FEMA. It was a setup news spread, right? He was like, I'm going to try to be president, so we're going to get, the governors on the big screen here. We're going to do a press conference, and he called the press in there, and he told everybody, look, Americans are going to need to pitch in. Americans are going to need to pitch in and help out because this devastation, the government's not going to be able to do it all on their own. Oh, yeah? The government could if we had all the money we sent to Ukraine. The government could if we had all the money we were giving to these illegal immigrants. $750 is what they get. And they didn't even want to give them that. That was keep in mind, this is after lots of negative publicity. This is after lots of screaming and yelling. This is after lots of angry phone calls. Here is Governor Brian Kemp from Georgia talking about what he had to go through. What he had to go through to get FEMA just to declare it the counties in Georgia national disaster areas.
When the first emergency declarations came down, there was only 11 counties in that. A lot of people were outraged, including me, because there was such devastation in up to 90 counties. So we called the White House. We spoke to the president's chief of staff, the FEMA administrator, and said, "Look, you're sending the signal that you're not paying attention to some of these rural communities."
By the way, 90 counties. I thought I heard that wrong. I was like, 90 counties? There are 159 counties in Georgia. Georgia has the second most number of counties next to Texas. They're very small. I mean, Georgia's not one of the biggest states, but they shoved a lot of counties in there. And Brian Kemp's like, look, we've got 159 counties in Georgia. At least 90 of them suffered some kind of hurricane damage. And in at least 90 counties, people are devastated and need emergency relief from the government. And we were granted emergency relief in 11 counties. He had to get on the phone. He had to scream and yell at the president or the chief of staff. And that's the other thing, too. He's on the phone with the chief of staff because, let's face it, that's the guy who's running everything. And they can't get the help that they need. And people know what people aren't stupid. People know the generosity of American citizens is great. Not just American citizens, but American lawmakers, real American lawmakers like Corey Mills from right here in Florida. Corey Mills from Florida's district 7th congressional district, who on day one got in, he got his gear on, he got a helicopter, he flew up there, he started saving people. He just became like super representative. He was like, okay, I'm going to take off my suit and tie because Congress isn't in session. We're going to get in a Huey. We're going to go save some people in North Carolina. And he was on Fox News the other day explaining just how difficult it was. And listen to the signal. That they don't have cell service. They don't have satellites. They don't have electricity barely. It's difficult to even get a signal from where Corey Mills is.
Tell us what you're observing there and what we all need to understand.
Look, if there were not small quickly or getting the necessary needs in here that the people were wanting. And so we've delivered now about 5 tons worth of supplies, about roughly 10,000. We've actually transported about 12,000 pounds between the 2 helicopters that we brought in. Much of which is the only place that you can get in is by rotary wing helicopter. So we've gone into Broad River, South Toe. We've gone into Banner Elk, Asheville, Burnsville. We've gone into Butler. We've continued to try and go to at least 5 or 6 different locations, either conducting search and rescue operations to drop SAR, to do health and welfare checks on family members who's gone missing, or even just doing distribution for Starlink systems so that we can get our missing persons report down. Because a lot of this, people just haven't heard from their family members for 2 and 3 and 4 days. We were able to successfully evacuate someone from Bailey, North Carolina to Johnsonville yesterday. 83-year-old man, yesterday was his birthday, was showing signs of heart attack or hypertension. So we were able to medevac him and get him out, but also delivering insulin, oxygen bottles. A lot of people, it's not just food and water and non-perishables, but it's medications that they're short on. So trying to fulfill those needs until the federal government can get up and do what they need to be doing.
Yeah, I wouldn't be holding my breath, Corey Mills, till the federal government can get up and be doing what they're flying around above you. Joe Biden's flying around going, that's a lot of water. Take me back. That's a lot of water down there. Take me back to the beach. That's what Joe Biden's doing. Kamala Harris is offering up $750, which again, I think I spent $750 taking a family of 4 to Panera once. I mean, Panera's gotten really expensive, but I mean, it's not enough to survive. It's definitely not enough to bounce back. And it's almost giving somebody in this situation, in the situation that these people are in, when you look at, let me go back to yesterday. When you look at what's going on in some of these places, I mean, it's just ridiculous. When you look at the devastation, you're telling me that somebody who lives in this area, somebody who's walking along in this area where there's nothing, there's absolutely nothing, giving somebody in this area $750 is like giving them $0. It's really insulting.
Day 6. And I just can't help but, I mean, I literally
Wait, I still don't hear you.
crying for my people.
Hang on, let me try again. Lost sound. Do you guys hear me now? All right, you there? Can you guys? Okay, good. All right, why is there no audio? That's weird. You lost sound? Okay, good. The audio's fixed. All right, here, let me play this for you again. Let me see if I can play this for you.
Day 6.
There's no audio on this clip, evidently. That's a bummer.
I'm just
I
crying
don't know
for
why.
my people. And for, I mean, like,
Weird.
the
All right, I don't know
government
why
do
there's
us
no
like
sound on
this?
my clip,
How could
but
the whole country just forget about us? Like,
oh, there we go.
it's not enough. What is being done is not enough.
All right, hold on. Let me restart that.
Day 6. And I just can't help but, I mean, I literally am just crying for my people. And for, I mean, like, how could the government do us like this? And how could the whole country just forget about us? Like, it's not enough. What is being done is not enough. I mean, there are entire communities that have been just decimated. There is, I mean, where is our fucking government?
Oh, there it is. Yeah, I didn't want to get that. But I mean, you can see the devastation in this guy. You can hear how horrible this is. And these communities, the mountains of North Carolina, I don't know if you've ever been, but I grew up in North Carolina. We spent all of our winters in North Carolina. We'd go skiing at places like Sugar Mountain. We'd go skiing at places like Banner Elk. The same communities, the Biltmore House. I mean, I went to the Biltmore House and the surrounding areas for school field trips and, for weekend excursions. And this is an area of the country that is mountainous, that is steep, that is dangerous and nearly impossible to get around just in the snow. The streets that they've been able to create, the roads are winding. I mean, it is terrifying for a lot of people, especially inexperienced drivers, to drive around the mountains of North Carolina where Boone and Hendersonville are. And now when you wash away all of those roads, or a lot of them, when you don't have access, when you don't know if anything's stable, and you're trying to get helicopters in and out, and emergency supplies in and out, and trucks and transportation in and out, it is so difficult to do. I mean, look, in Florida, everything's flat, right? So a hurricane comes through and it flattens buildings and people lose their homes and it's very sad. But you're able to get supplies back in. It's a flat land. In North Carolina, it is so treacherous in those Appalachian Mountains, in the Blue Ridge Mountains. It's so difficult on a regular day. I can't even imagine how badly it is in these kinds of situations, in these kinds of scenarios. The other day, I mentioned you, a good friend of mine we were trying to get in touch with her, and we finally did. We heard back from her, and I said, hey, what happened? She's in Hendersonville, North Carolina. And she wrote, and she explained, she said, my text messages are just now going through. Cell service is spotty. We had several large trees down. Our basement flooded. Other than that, we are okay. The whole area is devastated. Her husband's office had 5 feet of water in it. They're having to completely move out of the building because structurally it's unsound. The Harris Teeter, the grocery store in town, had water up to the Starbucks counter and will be closed for months. It's devastating. I think the death toll will end up being in the hundreds just in Western North Carolina. And she's right. It's already up into the multiple hundreds, and it will probably continue to climb. And if you're in that area, I should write her back and say, hey, good news, you're getting $750.
And the federal relief and assistance that we have been providing has included FEMA providing $750 for folks who need immediate needs being met, such as food.
So you're not going to get like a hotel like the illegal immigrants in New York City. You're not going to get 3 square meals a day like they get. You're not going to get health care or free schooling or anything like that. You're getting $750 from FEMA. And that's, by the way, a week after this thing happened. Oh, and also after Donald Trump showed up with Franklin Graham and Samaritan's Purse and a truck full of fuel and truckloads of water. It's days after Logan Paul, YouTuber bruh, was able to get pallets and pallets and pallets of his prime energy beverage into these places somehow, and the federal government is only able to dole out 700. I just don't understand it. And look, people know what's up. People understand what's going on. They see what's happening. They know what's going on with the federal government. They know who's responsible. They know what they need to do to make a change. CBS was wandering around doing what they do. They were going into diners and restaurants and they were talking to people about the election. And they found a couple people who, look, the voters know.
You're paying for all these immigrants. You're keeping them up in a hotel. You're giving them food. You're giving them health care free.
Do you feel like the border has been too open under Joe Biden?
Oh, obviously.
Absolutely. It's just a mess.
I mean, it is. And it's, a hurricane situation like this just exacerbates what everybody already knows. We all know that there is a misappropriation of funds at the highest levels of our government. We know that Joe Biden, the White House, we know the Congress and the Senate, we know that these people have been trying to convince us that we need to fund Ukraine to the tune of billions and hundreds of billions of dollars. We know that the government has been lying to us about the immigration problem and spending your money, your hard-earned money, American money, on all of these immigrants in all of these townships, not just supporting them, but bringing them here in the first place. This is money that could have been used for the border wall to keep them in Mexico. This is money that could have been used for the border patrol. This is money that could have been used for pretty much anything. This is money that could have been used just to make America greater and safer. We could have hired more police officers in our inner cities. We could have tried to, get rid of drugs or street gangs or any of those other things. This is all money that would have made America a much more fantastic place than it is. And the Democrats have used the money for everybody but the United States of America. And the voters know it. Those people in the diner know it. The money's going to the immigrants, and we need it here in the U.S. The American citizens need it. How many times have we heard about homeless veterans? You go to San Francisco, you go to New York, you go to Washington, D.C., you see these homeless people. How many of them do we find out later are veterans? People who laid their life down or put their life on the line for our country. People who went off and fought so that we could have the freedom and the liberty. And now these people are living on the streets, and they don't have money. They're living in poverty. They can't get health care. But somebody who breaks our laws, walks across here illegally, maybe potentially wanting to do us harm, they get everything handed to them by the government. It makes zero sense to anybody. And hopefully everyone will remember that when they go to vote on November the 5th. The young people know that. The young people know that. Listen to this CNN poll. This is one of my favorite things. John King from CNN uncovered a poll from Michigan about younger voters. And Anderson Cooper has his stoic Anderson Cooper, I'm not going to show any emotion face on while he's listening to these poll numbers, which he knows are devastating for Kamala Harris.
How is Vice President Harris performing with young voters compared to how President Biden did in 2020?
I mean, you could hear it in his voice. He sounds like he's about to crack or cry or something. Listen.
How is Vice President Harris performing with young voters compared to how President Biden did in 2020?
Some numbers, Anderson, to help with that question. Number one, just look at this choice for president. I want to stretch this out a little bit. Excuse me for turning my back. This is a recent New York Times Siena poll. It shows Donald Trump and the vice president tied among voters aged 18 to 29. Joe Biden carried that group by 24 points in 2020 in the exit polls. From being on the ground, remember, when you poll a smaller subgroup in a poll, there's a bigger margin of error. I can't quite believe it's a tie from being on the ground several times in Michigan, but there's no question the vice president is doing better than President Biden was doing earlier this year, when a lot of young voters didn't want him to be the candidate anymore. But she's not doing as well as he did back in 2020. There's no doubt about that. Absolutely no doubt about it.
Absolutely no doubt about that. I wanted to leave this up for just a minute because if you look at this poll, Let me get, in fact, I have to go back a little bit. If you look at this poll, it's only half the story. It's only half the story. In 2024, Kamala Harris and Donald Trump are tied at 45% of the youth vote. Okay. Again, these are younger voters. These are adults aged, voting age 18 to 29. So these are your Gen Z first-time voters. 18 to 29 in the state of Michigan, a swing state, a voting age or a voting block, a block of voters who typically votes Democrat in large numbers. Right now, Donald Trump and Kamala Harris are tied with 45% of the vote. That's half the story. Look back in 2020. Yes, Joe Biden had only 61% of the vote, but Donald Trump only had 37%, which means Donald Trump is up 8% in the young voting block. 8%. Yeah, Kamala Harris is down, but Donald Trump is up. Donald Trump is out there, and he's drawing in the youth vote. And he's drawing in the youth vote because he's talking to young voters. He's out there doing live streams. He's out there doing podcasts. He's out there at TPUSA events. He's out there at rallies. He's out there on college campus. He's going to football games where everybody can cheer and yell and scream. He's doing everything he can to make sure that young Americans, 18 to 29, know that, hey, this may be your first time ever voting. Don't throw it away. These people that are telling you they're going to pay off your student loans, they are lying to you. They're not going to pay off your student loans. They can't. It's unconstitutional. These people that are trying to tell you that they're going to do everything for you and that they're going to protect you and they're going to let you have abortions and that they're going to let you be whatever sex or gender you want, these people, they're lying to you. The Democrats are lying to you. And unfortunately, most people in that age group used to be, let's just say naive enough to fall for it. Nowadays, however, the Democrats have lost their hold on the young American voter because these people are doing their due diligence. There are organizations out there that are going out and informing them and educating them, which we need a lot of because education in this country, we got a real problem. Democrats, I don't know, maybe it's not that they're evil, maybe they're just stupid. But there's this clip that's been going around. It's from this is a woman who works for the school system. She's one of the administrators in a Pennsylvania school system. Listen to what she said about jobs in Pennsylvania under Donald Trump and Kamala Harris.
The economy, we know, has overwhelmingly been polled as the biggest concern among voters in Pennsylvania. That is something that the former president tends to lead Harris as well as Walz on. What's your take on that, and what's most important to you as a voter?
So in Pennsylvania, under Trump's presidency, I forget the specific number, but he had added maybe 60 million jobs to Pennsylvania. And if we remove COVID from that as the baseline and we use that 60 million, Biden's administration added like 196. It was more than double what he added. So to me, that's a very stark difference and a very clear line from where I live and local issue for me. You know, we need that job creation here.
196 million. Is that what you said? Hold on. I got to play the clip for you again. The numbers she's pulling out of her backside are just ridiculous.
The economy, we know, has overwhelmingly been polled as the biggest concern among voters in Pennsylvania. That is something that the former president tends to lead Harris as well as Walz on. What's your take on that, and what's most important to you as a voter?
So in Pennsylvania, under Trump's presidency, I forget the specific number, but he had added maybe 60 million jobs to Pennsylvania.
60 million jobs.
And
Donald Trump, hold on. Donald Trump added 60 million jobs to Pennsylvania. That's amazing. Why you should 100%, if anybody is able to add 60 million jobs to a state with a population of 13 million people. That's incredible. That's incredible. They had 13 million people, 60 million jobs. That means everybody in Pennsylvania, no matter how old they are, has an average of 5.2 jobs. Wow, you go, Trump. That was amazing. But that's not all. That's not all. Not to be outdone, listen to what Biden and Harris did.
If we remove COVID from that as the baseline and we use that 60 million, Biden's administration added like 196. It was more
196 million. What they added? Wait a minute. So was that on top of the 60 million jobs that Donald Trump created? So Donald Trump created 60 million jobs in a state of 13 million people. And then here comes Kamala Harris and Joe Biden, and they add 196 million for a grand total of, carry the 7 times 3, that would be 226 million jobs. That's amazing. That's amazing. I was worried about the future. You know what? It doesn't matter. Whoever's in charge, Kamala Harris, Donald Trump, we're going to have more jobs than we know what to do with. There's 333 million people in this country and 230 million jobs in Pennsylvania alone, one of only 50 states. That means that a third of the population lives in Pennsylvania. She works for the school system. This is why, by the way, this lady right here is why Donald Trump wants to get rid of the Department of Education. Donald Trump, on day one, we're going to drill, baby, drill. We're going to shut down the border, and we're going to get rid of the Department of Education. Everyone's like, no, not the Department of Education. I'm like, yeah, that's a good idea. Maybe if we get rid of the Department of Education, some of these people might actually get educated.
Double what he added. So to me, that's a very stark difference and a very clear line from where I live and local issue for me. You know, we need that job creation here.
We need 196 million jobs here. It's just, I mean, I'm sorry, but it's just, and the news people didn't even say anything to her. They just rolled the clip. Not only, because this is prepackaged, okay? This is how bad this is. There's so many problems with the education system. There's so much problem with the information in this country. There's so much that I just want to slam my head against the wall. But this is the problem. Not only did this woman at a school rally, a supposed educator, get up there and spew these ridiculous numbers, but the woman interviewing her isn't stopping her or saying, wait a minute, what did you just say? You mean, you can't possibly mean 96 million jobs, 129, whatever it was. You can't possibly mean that, right? You're misrepresenting the truth. And then they put it on television. Somebody at that news station should have had the wherewithal to say, we're not putting this on the air, unless they wanted to create some kind of blooper reel, unless they were trying to win America's Funniest Home Videos. Was that what they were trying to do? Did they want to become a laughingstock? Was that their goal? Maybe that's it. Maybe it was some conservative. Maybe this news station accidentally hired some conservative news editor or reporter, and they were able to slide that into the package. Maybe that's what, I don't know, but there's a lot of dumb people. Speaking of dumb people, Tim Walz, who said the other day during the debate that not only is he a knucklehead.
I'm a knucklehead at times.
Yeah, but he is friends with school shooters.
I've become friends with school shooters.
He was asked about that. He was cornered at a rally, and he finally kind of tried to answer the question, but guess what? He didn't really.
Do you want to clarify the comments that you made about school shooters?
Yeah, and look, you got to see me. These folks know me. I'm super passionate about this. The question come up about school shooting, we're talking about everything except school shootings. And I sat as a member of Congress with the Sandy Hook parents, and it was a profound movement. David Hogg is a good friend of mine. You have seen me do this. I was talking about being people where there are school shooters, and I need to be more specific on that, but I am passionate about this. This one, for my wife and I, is just, as teachers, as parents, is so personal.
David Hogg is a good friend of mine is an awkward sentence for a man like Tim Walz to say. David Hogg is a good, not just the age discrepancy, but there's the whole, I'm not going to get into rumors. I'm just going to say David Hogg is a good friend of mine is an awkward sentence for anyone in Tim Walz's position to say. But also David Hogg, as far as I know, is not a school shooter. So he didn't really answer the question. It may be, it's just either they're lying or they're stupid or both. I guess if you lie, you have to be smart to keep track of everything. But eventually the walls just keep crumbling down. No pun intended. But I will 100% take credit for that pun. And it's a sad day. Look, there's a lot of bad stuff going on in this country. All because of the Democrats. There's a lot of bad stuff with immigration. There's a lot of bad stuff with the war in Israel and Iran. There's a lot of bad stuff with the hurricanes and the lack of relief and the lack of competence in our government response. And I'm not talking about Corey Mills, and I'm not talking about the people on the ground. I'm not talking about the EMTs. I'm talking about the federal government, who is, I don't know if you remember Hurricane Katrina. But they wanted George W. Bush impeached after Katrina. They wanted GWB out of there, man. They were going to chase him out of the White House with pitchforks and torches. He was a monster. He was the worst person in the world. The way Katrina, and it was all, do you remember what Kanye West said? Kanye West, they had a big Katrina relief party on television. All the singers came and sang, and all the Hollywood types came they wanted to get the donations, and Kanye West went off script and said, George Bush doesn't care about black people. And poor Mike Myers was standing there going, that's not what the teleprompter says. Well, who is it now that Joe Biden doesn't care about? North Carolinians? People say, and this is the craziest thing. I'm going to play this clip again. People say that this is all because it's North Carolina, and North Carolina is a red state, but not where these hurricanes hit. Listen to this.
Day 6. And I just can't help but, I literally am just crying for my people. And how could the government do us like this? And how could the whole country just forget about us? Like, it's not enough. What is being done is not enough. There are entire communities that have been just decimated. Where is our... for Kamala, and I am an avid supporter for her to stand in Florida today and make a statement. Where is our government? Where's the fucking president? Where is that bitch? These people are so hardworking. They have struggled and struggled and struggled for generations.
This is the community that's being affected. And it's a lot of it. What happens in Asheville, North Carolina is you have a huge community of Democrats. A huge community of Democrats. And it's kind of, they've taken over, kind of like in Austin, Texas. You have a huge community of Democrats in, right in the middle of a big red state. Oregon is mostly red, but then Portland, of course, is red. In North Carolina, you have a couple of pockets of these big Democrat communities. One of the biggest is Asheville. It's an arts community. The artists have taken over, and they took to the hills, and they created this utopia for themselves. So Joe Biden and Kamala Harris are not just neglecting their fellow citizens. They're not just neglecting North Carolinians. They're not just neglecting these people who need help, but they're neglecting people who voted for them. They're neglecting their literal voters, the people that put them in office. They are now flying over in airplanes and handing out $750 to, if they can see the message, which they can't, because as you can see, there's very little electricity, there's very little service, there's very little ways for anybody to get into that area and get a message to those people or help to those people that desperately need it. And it's very sad. And it's very sad. And it's something else you need to realize, wherever you happen to be, if you're in North Carolina, and I know you're probably not watching this, if you're in Georgia and you happen to be in a situation where you have electricity back or you're streaming us on your phone, if you're in Florida, wherever you are, in fact, hurricanes, catastrophes, wildfires, tornadoes, earthquakes, these things can happen anywhere, tidal waves, flooding, mudslides. We're starting to learn no place is safe from a natural disaster. It can happen anywhere. In my lifetime, I've lived through hurricanes in 4 different states. Florida's been hit by hurricanes. Georgia's been hit by hurricanes. North and South Carolina constantly pummeled. New Jersey, New York. Don't forget about Louisiana and Texas and the Gulf Coast. Don't forget about the wildfires in California and in Maui and in Hawaii. And all up and down the West Coast. Not to mention the tornadoes in Tornado Alley in Oklahoma. Our friends in Tulsa, how many tornadoes every single year rip through the Tulsa, Oklahoma area and devastate people and rip down houses and destroy livelihoods? It's dozens and dozens and dozens. You need to know that when there is a natural disaster, which is inevitable, there will be a natural disaster sometime in the next 4 years. And you need to sit back and think to yourself, okay, do I want Kamala Harris and Joe Biden in charge of it? Or, I'm sorry, Kamala Harris and Tim Walz.
I'm a knucklehead at times.
Or do I want somebody like Donald Trump and JD Vance, who come with the added benefit of Elon Musk? There are so many There are so many brave, intelligent, thoughtful, hardworking warriors on the right that will buckle down and do whatever it takes to help Americans, and they'll do it quickly. They won't wait 5 days. They won't wait till after their fundraiser in Las Vegas is over. They're going to do it now. When do you need help? Now? Great. You get the help now. Donald Trump showed up within hours. Kamala Harris took days. Wasn't the first time. East Palestine. Do you remember that? Donald Trump was there in days. Joe Biden never went. He sent Pete Buttigieg. Like that was supposed to be any help to anybody. This is why they're losing younger voters. This is why they're losing Latino voters. This is why they're losing black voters. This is why they're losing all the voters, because they don't care about the voters. They just care about themselves. They care about the power. They care about the prestige. They care about the money. They care about the ability to send money to Ukraine, send money to their rich donors, send money to the military industrial complex. Make sure that their stock prices and portfolios continue to rise because of the money that you're paying them, that they're funneling in to all of these fantastic programs that don't help Americans at all, except those Americans who've been elected to office and have a great big D next to their names. That's who they're helping. And that's why this election is so important. You need to realize it's not about whether or not you can have an abortion in your state. If you can't have an abortion in your state, there are other states where you can get an abortion. It's not about whether or not you can marry somebody that you want to marry, even though the laws in your state say you can't. It's not about whether or not there'll be a peaceful transfer of power or January 6th was a thing. It's not about any of those things. Nobody cares. It's about whether or not, A, you feel safe in this country, and B, you feel economically sound. Because, and I said it before and I'll say it again, because we're in an election season. People are voting, early voting, mail-in voting. You're trying to decide who you're going to vote for. There's two things that matter when it comes to electing the president of the United States. Two things. There's two things nationally that a president can do to help you, and that is A, keep you alive. Your life is your most important asset. If you are dead, nothing else matters. It doesn't matter if the border's wide open, you're dead. It doesn't matter if drugs are pouring across into our countries and our school systems, you're gone. It doesn't matter what's going on in Ukraine or Iran or Israel or Taiwan. It doesn't matter to you. You're 6 feet underground. You're dead. You have no concerns whatsoever. So the most important thing you need your political leaders to do is keep you alive. And that means securing the border so criminals don't come in and drugs don't come in and someone doesn't slip fentanyl in your drink when you're not looking and kill you. It means keeping you safe from terrorists in terrorist countries like Iran, people like Hezbollah and Hamas, people like ISIS-K, who will go to any lengths to kill Americans in great numbers, and we've seen that on September 11th. You need to make sure that you're living in crime-free cities. You need to make sure that your military is up to snuff. You need to make sure that your Space Force is ready for any intergalactic threats that are coming from our greatest adversaries, China, Russia, North Korea. You need to make sure that you can stay alive. Then, since you're going to be alive for the rest of your life, yeah, that makes sense. Since you're going to be alive for a while, you're going to need some money. So you need to make sure that whoever you're voting for is A, going to keep you alive, and B, make sure that you have some pocket change, because people who are alive need clothing and food. They need a roof over their head. You probably need a car to get back and forth to your job. You want to be entertained every now and then. You're going to need some medications and some medicines. You need to make sure that you're living as long as possible and you have as much money as possible, and the person that you put in the White House is going to help you do those two things. Nothing else matters. Everything else you worry about on a state level. And Kamala Harris is not going to keep you alive. Kamala Harris is continually allowing the bad people who wish to do you harm into the country totally unvetted. She's not on your side. She doesn't have your back. She doesn't want to protect you. She doesn't care what happens to you. She'll just bring in more people to take your place. And she doesn't care if you have money either. Why? Because she's got money. She has money, and Joe Biden has money, and Nancy Pelosi has money, and Chuck Schumer has money, and let's be honest, all of her buddies have money, and probably the more money that they have and the less money that you have, the better it is for them anyway. So they're going to keep everything status quo. They're going to keep everything the same. You need to find somebody who's going to keep you alive, protect you from danger, the inherent danger that is facing every single American. And then you need someone who's going to make sure that you can earn money and keep money and spend money on the things you want to spend it on, not on Ukraine or illegal immigrants or anything else. That's just PSA when it comes to voting. By the way, there's another reason why young people are voting for Kamala Harris in great big numbers. CNN released this poll, 18 to, what is it? Okay, CNN released this poll. 18 to 29-year-olds are flocking to Donald Trump and the Republican Party. And one of the reasons why is not because of the policies, not because of the president, not because of anything like that. It's because they find JD Vance to be smoking hot. Listen to this.
Babe, I'm going to be honest. Last night, I don't have ovaries. Obviously, I'm a man. But last night when JD Vance went on stage, baby, my body was ticking for pregnancy. He went on stage. I don't care if you're a Democrat or a Republican. He was wearing his pink tie. He was compassionate. He was loving. He comes from 2 Democratic parents. His mom had a drug addiction. Like, babe, he has substance. His mom had substance abuse, but he has substance. And my body looking, like, oh my God, the blue eyes. Ladies, were we looking at those blue eyes that pierced us? It's almost like we went to Claire's. You know how Claire's does the piercings? Bitch, he pierced my vagina. I don't care what you say.
Okay, all right, well, it's probably enough. That's happening. JD Vance, this is the JFK effect. This is exactly what happened in the very first televised presidential debate. JFK was the original. JFK was trailing Richard Milhouse Nixon. And they said, we're going to have a debate, and it's going to be televised, because before that, all the debates were on the radio. But TV was this big new thing, and we're going to bring him into the studio, and we're going to put him under the lights. And wouldn't you know it, JFK, who was like, 40? Not even 40, young, in his early 40s, and good looking and youthful and clean shaven and had the hair and the big smile, strolls on in, gets on camera, and Richard Milhouse Nixon, with the 5 o'clock shadow, didn't know to shave. He wasn't camera ready. He had those eyes that were his eyes weren't big and bright, and he didn't smile. He had this kind of solemn, jowly look. I'm Richard Nixon. I'm not a crook. That's what happened. So you had JFK on one side, all beaming and beautiful, and then you had old grumpy Grandpa Richard Milhouse Nixon on the other side, and boom, after that debate, based solely on the way they looked, solely on the way they came across on television, boom, JFK became the front runner and eventually the president of the United States of America. JD Vance is Donald Trump's new JFK because he goes on TV with his baby blue eyes and his pink tie and his beard, and everyone, men and also women, are flipping out about him.
I don't know about you ladies, but I appreciate a well-groomed man with pretty eyes, especially a man with a beard. I don't know, a beard that's well taken care of, well maintained, is chef's kiss for me. And last night, while watching that debate, I could not help but notice JD Vance's piercing blue eyes and that beard. It was on point. I must say, kudos to you, JD, for actually bringing some attractiveness to the platform, something worth looking at for a change. Lord knows I like me a man with a nice beard and who's good looking. I'm married to a man like that. What do you ladies think? Was anything standing out to you that was good looking about JD?
I mean, I don't know about you. It's happening all over. That's all on TikTok. It's happening on Instagram. People love them some JD Vance. And it doesn't matter. They're not talking about his politics. They're talking about his piercing blue eyes. I mean, look, if whatever works. I don't care why you vote for Trump Vance. I'd love for you to be, well versed enough on their policies and have common sense enough to know that they're the only hope for the United States of America. But if the only reason you're voting for Trump Vance is because of the tingle you feel in your privates, I'm okay with that too. And it's happening. Look, there's more to this woman. Raise your hand if you fell in love with JD Vance while watching the debate. I mean, everybody loves this guy. My daughter's text after I encouraged her to get more involved in politics. Holy crap, Vance is hot as hell. I mean, this is what's turning. This is what the JD Vance look is going to be the new look. By the way, I wanted to try it out. You know, I don't care who. I was just trying to grow the numbers on the show, right? And I think to myself, I'm always looking at trends, what works for people, what doesn't work for people. So apparently, for JD Vance, the piercing blue eyes, which I have, thankfully, are doing it. The well-kept beard, which that's a stretch for me. I'm not, hair and I we don't really have a strong relationship, but I haven't shaved in a couple days. So maybe I can get a little Vance scruff going. And then the pink tie was a big turn on too. And I know he wore it because it was October 1st, the first day of Breast Cancer Awareness Month. I don't actually have a pink tie, but I have this lovely violet tie, which... Let me know if you're watching on the stream or if you're watching this video. Let me know in the comments if the purple tie does it for you, or if I need to get myself a hot pink tie. Like, let me see. Here it is again from yesterday.
Honestly, Tim, I think you got a tough job here because you've got to play whack-a-mole. You've got to pretend that Donald Trump didn't deliver rising take-home pay, which of course.
Yeah. See, he's got hair too, though. Even look at. I mean, when you look at the contrast, and this may be part of it too. When you contrast Tim Walz with JD Vance on the same stage, not only is JD Vance attractive and a specimen of rugged American manhood. I mean, he looks like he came right out of an LL Bean catalog. You throw a flannel shirt on him and a puffer vest and some duck boots, and he is an LL Bean model. Shotgun casually thrown over his shoulder. That's it. You could sell as many barn jackets as you wanted to with JD Vance as your model. But when you put him up against Tim Walz, I mean, that is JFK Nixon revisited. And yeah, it's a hot pink tie. Probably, I don't know. Let's see. I've got maybe the hot pink. All right. Well, we'll see what happens. Maybe I'll get. You've
got to pretend that Donald Trump didn't deliver.
He's also got the American flag too. They both do, but like the blue suit, the crisp white shirt, I could see it now. I could see why women are into JD Vance. And JD Vance he's the new conservative sex symbol. Add to that the fact that he also is intelligent. Let's play that clip again. Listen to
Honestly, Tim, I think you got a tough job here because you've got to play whack-a-mole. You've got to pretend that Donald Trump didn't deliver rising take-home pay, which of course he did. You've got to pretend that Donald Trump didn't deliver lower inflation, which of course he did. And then you simultaneously got to defend Kamala Harris's atrocious economic record, which has made gas, groceries, and housing unaffordable for American citizens. I was raised by a woman who would sometimes go into medical debt so that she could put food on the table in our household. I know what it's like to not be able to afford the things that you need to afford. We can do so much better. To all of you watching, we can get back to an America that's affordable again. We just got to get back to common sense economic principles.
Okay, so there you go. So JD Vance is the total package. He's young, he's youthful looking, he's got a beard, he's got piercing blue eyes, he's well dressed, he's man enough to wear a pink tie, and he's smart. He knows everything about everything. And he speaks in a way that is, the other thing is he spoke in a way that was calm. This is the thing that the left was most upset. I mean, they were upset about a lot of things. They were upset that Tim Walz said he was friends with school shooters.
I've become friends with school shooters.
They were upset that Tim Walz called himself a knucklehead.
And I'm a knucklehead at times.
They were upset that the answer to the question, is Tim Walz a moron, is yes.
Is Tim Walz a moron?
Yes. They were upset about all those they were upset about all those things. But they were most upset that JD Vance was so good at everything. And he didn't lose his cool. He didn't lose his temper. He didn't call anyone any names. He didn't say that they were eating dogs and cats in Springfield, Ohio. He didn't say that this person was a liar. That person, even when he interrupted the moderators who broke the rules by fact-checking him, and he tried to politely fact-check them, he did it in a way that was polite and not angry. He did it in a way that was respectful, if you will. He did it in a way that was demure and mindful. And I'm not going to say cutesy. I'm not going to say cutesy. But I mean, basically, that's what he did.
Margaret, but
thank you, Senator. We have so much to get to.
Margaret, I think it's important because
we're going to turn now to the economy. Thank you.
Margaret, the rules were that you guys weren't going to fact check. And since you're fact checking me, I think it's important to say what's actually going on.
I mean, he calms everybody down. He's the guy that breaks up the fight and makes everybody feel like they won. You know? And then he'll break up the fight, he'll send everybody, and everyone's going to come around and they're going to be like, I won that fight. That's exactly what JD Walz. That's exactly what JD Vance is. And that's exactly what Tim Walz is not. So again, kudos to Donald Trump Jr. for finding JD Vance, for plucking him out of the Senate and presenting him to his father and saying, this is the guy. Kudos to Donald Trump Jr., who, by the way, will take full credit. We saw him when we went to the Tucker Carlson tour the other day. Tucker Carlson had Donald Trump Jr. on stage, and he brought him out, and they sat down, and they started talking about Donald Trump Jr.'s political acumen, which is understated and underrated, and a lot of people don't know. And he said, I wanted JD Vance. And when I found out that the rich donors to my father's campaign and the special interests who were trying to get their man onto my father's campaign, when I found out they didn't want JD Vance, they wanted someone else, well, that just made me want JD Vance even more. Not as much as this guy wants JD Vance.
Babe, I'm gonna be honest. Last night, I don't have ovaries. Obviously, I'm a man. But last night when JD Vance went on stage, baby, my body was ticking for pregnancy.
Yeah, he didn't like him that much, but he liked he liked him a lot. If Donald Trump wins the gay vote because of JD Vance, I mean, right? Mind blown. Boom. I want to see the CNN poll on the gays. That's what I want to see. Show me the Latinos, and I know for a fact that Donald Trump's going to win the Latino vote. Show me the black vote, and yes, I know that Donald Trump's going to steal at least 50% of the black vote from the Democrats. Show me the suburban soccer moms, because I saw the Moms for America. I watch Chicks on the Right every morning. I know what's going on with these people. I know that there are women out there who are eager to vote for Donald Trump, not because they give a rat's patootie about abortion or election integrity, but because they're sick and tired of feeling unsafe when they go for a jog. They're sick and tired of not having enough money for Lululemon yoga pants. They're sick and tired of not being able to feed their families, and they're sick and tired of all the other ridiculousness that comes along with Kamala Harris and Joe Biden. Show me all those numbers, but give it a week. Throw JD Vance out there on the trail, put him on TV a little bit more, maybe have him sit down with, I don't know, Bravo, Andy, put him on Queer Eye for the Straight Guy. I don't care what you have to do, but show me the gay numbers, because I bet that gays for Trump is getting a whole bunch. They're getting a lot of clicks today. They're getting a lot of signups because of JD Vance and his piercing blue eyes at that debate. It's very exciting. Now, listen, there's a lot of people out there on the right who are doing amazing things. One of them is Dinesh D'Souza. Dinesh D'Souza has a brand new movie out. There's been a flood. We've been flooded. Everybody who's a conservative has a brand new movie out. And guess what? The conservative movies are beating the pants off of the liberal movies. Dinesh D'Souza has a new movie out about Donald Trump. Vivek Ramaswamy has a new movie out about Donald Trump. You've got, there was just that movie Reagan with, what's his name, about Ronald Reagan, who's basically like Donald Trump, Quaid, Dennis Quaid. And so there's this onslaught, there's this flurry of Republican conservative major motion pictures coming not from Hollywood, but from other areas. And Dinesh D'Souza has a brand new movie out about Donald Trump. And I'm going to name drop a little bit. When I went to D.C. About a week ago, it was a week ago, maybe it was about a week ago. I was chit-chatting with Tim Pool, who I met in Milwaukee, Tim Pool from Timcast IRL. And he said, hey, if you're ever in town, you can come out, you can hang out at the studio. And so I drove to the rural parts of West Virginia, which was about a 2-hour drive from where I was staying in DC. And I arrived just at dusk and the night had just fallen, and I'm driving on these winding West Virginia roads, and I pull up to a gated facility with keep out signs everywhere. And I get buzzed in, and I drive to the back where there's this massive complex. Looks like a military airplane hangar. And I get buzzed in, and in the middle of West Virginia on a random Tuesday night in a large military aircraft looking hangar, Tim Pool's hanging out riding a skateboard. And right next to him is Dinesh D'Souza, because Dinesh D'Souza was going to be a guest on his show. And I'd met Dinesh D'Souza a couple times. Here in Jacksonville a couple times. I was backstage with him. We had a big event where I got to introduce DJT. And so I watched him speak. He did a great job. He killed it. People love that guy. And I go up to him, I'm like, I don't know if you remember me. We met here. And he goes, of course I do. Probably a lie, but I bought it. I was like, fine, I'll take it. I'll take if Dinesh D'Souza wants to lie and say he remembers me from an event 3 years ago, I'll take it. But he has a brand new movie out called Vindicating Trump. And so we started talking about this movie, and I said, this is fantastic. We started talking about, the mules, everything else. And a really interesting guy, really nice guy. His son-in-law, because his daughter's also very political, his son-in-law just got elected to Congress. Not yet, because the election's coming up, but he won the primary in a deep red district. So we feel like his son's going to be, or his son-in-law is going to be a congressperson very soon. So I said to him, I go, hey, you should come on the show sometime. And he said, I'd love to. Here's my number. And so tomorrow, we are going to be chit-chatting with Dinesh D'Souza about his brand new movie, Vindicating Trump. Now, keep in mind, that is if the internet doesn't go out, that is if his plane doesn't get, we were supposed to talk to him today, but his flight got delayed or something like that. So tomorrow, we are scheduled to have Dinesh D'Souza on the show. So that'll be very exciting. Now I need to get JD Vance, though, because apparently he's the looker. We're gonna work. I'm gonna call Don Jr.'s people. I'm like, hey, you got to get me JD Vance so I can draw, because I don't care if you're a woman. I don't care if you're a gay man. I don't care if you don't know what you are. As long as you're watching this show and subscribing to this show, as long as you come back every single day at noon and support this show, I'm all about it. I don't care what you do in the privacy of your own bedroom. I don't care, as long as it's legal and everyone there is a consenting adult. I don't care about any of that. As long as you're here at noon with the live stream going, as long as you're downloading the podcast, as long as you tell iTunes and or Spotify that you want to hear this podcast every single day, then I'm happy that you're here. And I hope you can get something entertaining out of it, something informative out of it, something enlightening out of it, and hopefully we can continue to grow it. Now, one other thing that I did want to share with you is a lot of people have been very excited about my brand new book, Cancel Proof. My proven social media strategy for conservatives to thrive online. And this is an interesting book. This is a little different than my other books. Of course, my other books, one of them was a Dr. Seuss knockoff. One of them was a Christmas book. The other one was a bunch of poems about Joe Biden. And the last book, Go Trump Yourself, was similar in vein to this, but still a little bit different. This book is the story of me and other conservatives who have been canceled, censored, deleted, doxxed, demonetized, just plain thrown off of social media and mainstream media outlets. People like Donald J. Trump, people like Elon Musk, people like Tucker Carlson, people like me. And not only do I share those stories, but I also share in here strategies and tactics and ways that I've figured out to manipulate social media, to maneuver about in the minefield that is social media as a conservative, as a loud, proud conservative. And not only that, but how I've been able to maintain a business and profit from social media while not neglecting or going back on my political views and my moral values. And so that's what this book is all about. And people have been loving it. I put up on Facebook an official review thread. So if you are one of the people who has already purchased and downloaded and read or listened to, because there's an audiobook as well, which you get when you purchase the book, then later on, I'm going to post the link to Facebook again. And I would love for you to take a minute and go and write a review that we can use at a later date. That would be fantastic. And if you haven't yet gotten the book, let me show you where you can get it. You can get it at markkaye.com/cancel. I'm making it easier. What I'm doing now is, what happened to my iPad? Oh, I had to restart my computer, didn't I? Hang on 1 second. Let me just plug in the iPad and I'll show you. But if you go to markkaye.com/cancel, you'll be able to get the book. What I'm trying to do now is I'm trying to put everything on because I have so many. Oh, shoot. What did I do? There we go. I have so many different URLs. People would always say, man, you got so many URLs. It's true. Now what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to condense everything under the markkaye.com umbrella. So markkaye.com/cancel will take you to this page. And when you get to this page, you'll see, look, there's a quick little order form. You tap on that. You can fill out your information and you'll get the book. Okay. You'll get the book right here. You're going to get the audiobook as well. So you can listen to me read it to you. There's a quote from Victoria: "Cancel Proof is the ultimate guide to dodging social media drama. Mark's book is as useful as it is entertaining." Thank you so much for that fantastic review. There's a little peek inside. I'm going to add more to this, of course, but here's the pre-launch offer. As a special pre-launch offer, I'll send you both the ebook and the audiobook version of Cancel Proof, and you get it all for just one price, and that's $24. And there's no shipping. That's the best part. There's no, it's always like, oh, this is how much this costs, but then there's an additional $9.99 for shipping. No shipping on this. You get it today. You get the book today. You get the audiobook today. You get it free of shipping, and you get it instantly delivered. It's going to be really, you're going to really love it. That is markk.com/cancel. markk.com/cancel. There's one more story that I wanted to touch on here, and I don't have a lot of time to get into it, but I didn't do it yesterday because I wanted some more information about it, but it turns out it's really a thing. And it's about Doug Emhoff, the second gentleman, which is a phrase I never understood. Doug Emhoff is the second gentleman of the United States of America. He's the guy that they brought out at the DNC to show that it's okay to be one of these feminine kind of, low T individuals. It's okay to let your woman wear the pants and be vice president. And it's okay to, just stay home and give up your job and talk like this and use your hands in a really kind of a Tim Walz. That's the thing. Like Tim Walz and Doug Emhoff, that's the Democrat version of a man. And now Doug Emhoff apparently is not the low T individual we thought he was. We know already, it's well known, it's not, if you don't know, then I'll tell you, that his first marriage ended after he had an affair with the nanny and ended up impregnating her. He had an affair with the nanny, she got pregnant. That's what ended his marriage. He's still apparently cordial with his wife, whatever. That's up to them. That's their relationship, none of my business. But now there's another story coming out from Doug Emhoff's past, and it's a little more treacherous. And Chris Cuomo, he did a little piece on it yesterday, but let me just share with you, first of all, the story from the Daily Mail. They have the Chris Cuomo blasts mainstream media for ignoring Doug Emhoff assault claims. He says, if it were Trump, it would be on every TV show. Doug Emhoff, the second gentleman of the United States, was accused of hitting his partner in the face at an event in 2012. In the public view, apparently. So here's this woman. Emhoff is accused of striking his former girlfriend. The couple are seen here together with their face obscured. The Daily Mail reports, speaking on his News Nation show, the former CNN star anchor said, if the name were Trump instead of Emhoff, it would be all over the news.
If the name were Trump instead of Emhoff, it would be all over the news. Daily Mail, echoed by the New York Post, has a story. Doug Emhoff, Kamala Harris's husband, accused of striking a woman he was on a date with at the Cannes Film Festival back in 2012. They had been drinking, and he didn't like how she talked to the valet. He smacked her. She smacked him back.
You do not get very often people coming forward named, and the reason is they're worried about retaliation. These are very powerful people we're talking about. 3 friends all saying they were told the same thing. 2 of them contemporaneously. This woman, Jane, we're calling her, she called one of the friends immediately after the incident. That's what this friend told me.
Ordinarily, I don't care about these stories. You could say, well, there may have been an assault. Well, she didn't go to the police. He's not really running. But again, if it were Trump or anyone related to him, it would be on every TV show that is on right now.
There is a certain amount of truth to that. And look, as the second gentleman of the United States of America, I imagine you have probably, yes, you're not vetted. You're not, no one's going to vet. I mean, Hillary didn't, we know that for a fact. But you're not going to vet your spouse or your significant other. He's not running for anything. That's true. But it is an important story. And he's right about the one thing. The important thing to realize is not what Doug Emhoff did or didn't do, not the allegations against him, not what this woman is saying he did. What's important is the media reaction to it. And the media is ignoring it. If it were Donald Trump Jr. and Kimberly Guilfoyle, if it were Eric Trump and Laura Trump or some ex-girlfriend, if it were anyone else, if it were Barron, if Barron went out to some New York City bar and got drunk, and forget about it, it would be everywhere. And that is just another one of the many examples we have of the hypocrisy of the media and the hypocrisy of the left. And so that's why it is a somewhat important story, because it's not an important story to anyone else in the media. Anyway, listen, thanks so much for joining me today. We are going to be back tomorrow. We're going to be back. Keep in mind, remember, I'm going to be doing this every single day. We're going to be going hardcore from now till Election Day. You're going to get some kind of content, a live stream. We're going to get podcasts. We're going to make sure, because every day is important. Every day there's something to report about Donald Trump, about Kamala Harris, about the electorate. Every day there's something to report about the numbers. Every day there's some new attack in Israel or some hurricane. There's something you need to know that affects you. There's going to be new stories uncovered. Jack Smith is out there. Jack Smith is out there trying to drum up. He's trying to drum up some dirt on Donald Trump. And Donald Trump was asked about this. In fact, I should probably do this quickly. Donald Trump was asked about this by a reporter about these new charges that have come up. Where is it? Let me see where it is here. These new charges that have come up from Jack Smith. And where is it? Do I have it? He said he was deranged. I may not even have it. Hold on. Let's see if this is it. No, I don't have it. Oh, well, never mind. I'll get to it later. We'll do it tomorrow, right after we talk to Dinesh D'Souza. So thank you so much for joining me. Thanks so much for subscribing. Thanks so much for listening. Thanks so much for being here, because together, working together just like this every single day, you and me and everybody else, we're going to come together and we're going to finish the task, and we're going to march in there. We're going to march into the voting booths between now and November 5th. And on Election Day, we're going to be victorious. We are going to save the Republic.